Hello, we're going to be presenting supply chain management issues post COVID-19, and we're group 5. So, the main aspects regarding supply chain management issues is the need for building resilience, technological integration, diversification of supply sources, sustainability focus, and supply chain regionalization. Building resilience. So companies should focus on the short term first and have like a tactical response, such as like expedited delivery and emergency purchasing to meet demands. And to achieve a more durable solution, like in the long run, CEOs should implement like strategies that uh, foster agility in responding to rapid changes and commit to more significant long-term reforms. Um, This approach involves both immediate action and planning for future stability. Technical integration. Employing digital twins and what if scenarios are recommended to predict and prepare for potential disruptions. A digital twin allows companies to create a virtual model of their supply chain to simulate real world performance and identify potential issues. So we learned something like this in finance with, or sorry, modeling with Excel. Um, It's a finance class, and what if scenarios are very easy to simulate. Also, Monte Carlo simulations. Um, what if scenarios help in understanding the impacts of changes and making preemptive adjustments. Increasing data sharing with suppliers while ensuring data protection can improve transparency and help identify vulnerabilities within the supply chain. Sustainability. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the economic vulnerabilities inherent in non-sustainable supply chain practices, particularly those relying on distant suppliers and inefficient uses of resources. Embracing sustainable practices not only promotes greater resource efficiency but also tends to reduce long-term operational costs. For instance, companies that implement measures to cut energy consumption or minimize waste can achieve significant cost savings. The shift towards sustainability is not merely an ethical choice, but a strategic financial decision that can lead to a more stable and profitable operation. Supply chain regionalization. The trend of regionalization in supply chains is increasingly evident as businesses shift from a globalized approach to one that prioritizes local demand through nearshoring. This strategy allows companies to produce goods closer to their primary markets, enhancing control over operations and response times to market needs. For example, the Coca-Cola plant we have here in McAllen, and Coca-Cola does this a lot where they have a plant in every major city, so that way their distribution costs are reduced. The COVID-19 pandemic underscored the importance of this approach by highlighting the vulnerabilities associated with long, complex supply chains dependent on distant suppliers. For example, the ship that was not able to move in, I think it was the Suarez Canal in 2021. This was like in July, I believe. Um, you don't want to be too dependent on distant suppliers. So the pandemic also revealed that simply relocating production is not enough. True resilience requires diversifying supply sources across multiple regions to avoid over reliance on any single country or supplier network.
Okay, hello everybody. Today we're going to be discussing the supply chain management issues post COVID-19. So today I'd like to talk about how businesses have changed because of COVID-19 and what they're doing to adapt. So let's talk about how businesses are using technology, computers, and sensors to help them manage their products. So whenever someone is ordering something online and it arrives quickly, that's because these companies have, like Amazon, that is an example. They use computers to predict, such as an algorithm, AI, artificial intelligence, to really predict what people are wanting to buy or wanting or preferring to buy, attracted to, so they can have it ready for them, in stock for them. And other stores, such as Walmart, that's a big company, big store, They use sensors to make sure the food stays fresh when it is being delivered. So by adopting to these kinds of advances on technologies, they're able to minimize any disruptions between any consumers and really improve their customer satisfaction because they are doing everything possible to really attract the customers and stay up to date to have everything up to date for them. So for the diversification for resilience, um, we're gonna let's talk about like imagining having all of your rooms or sorry, all of your toys in one room, and then suddenly there's a big storm, and you can't go into that one specific room anymore. That's kind of what is going to happen to an example in Toyota with the car brand, their operations in Japan. They had an earthquake in 2011, I believe, and it really destroyed the operation in that region. So by diversifying their suppliers, having in different regions, it is a lot easier to not have their operations stop and continuing like full on stop. They have if this one has a disaster that they do encounter, then they have another operation in another region where they are working their products, services, anything that they're working on. They have different places to place their operations, so it wouldn't be a complete risk in having all of your eggs in one basket. So that is what if the companies are diversifying their suppliers and adapting to actually diversifying it and having in different regions where that could improve their products, attract more customers in those specific regions are more interested in it from using the algorithm, their AI, anything to predict what places would be best to have their operations and use that technology to really advance themselves for the 100% in customer satisfaction. The sustainability competitive advantage. So we're thinking about being eco-friendly, environmentally friendly, and conscious with how everything is affecting us. We with the us with the environment are one. So if they are getting affected, then we will eventually get affected as well. So those companies that are really being cautious environmentally and really taking that as a priority for themselves and for their customers really makes an improvement overall for how many people are attracted to that and will continue to be attracted because they are prioritizing the environment overall with the product services that they provide, and that will completely help them continue to grow and continue to have their operations in those specific regions where they have it. So if the some companies are trying to be better for the environment, then it will make other companies also want to be sustainably competitive, which will one improve our environment and can potentially improve everybody who will be buying those products and being more conscious and using specific products to continue to be sustainable and integrate these eco-friendly practices in their supply chains and the operations to just fully commit to that change for all of us as the way the post-pandemic has changed us. So lastly, we're talking about the adaptation and resilience. So we're going to be talking about who really is gaining and who will really be losing in the overall game of changing and shifting to adapt to how everybody is changing culturally and globally, or just choosing to stay behind in the sense of not really understanding how to advance themselves technology wise, digital wise, or sustainability wise. Um, but those companies that do use those new tools that are being provided and created and fully commit to that innovation that they have to bring up new things to keep the company and those operations running, continuing, and also improving the environment and improving the overall satisfaction of customers using those specific tools to really optimize the products, the service, and the environment overall. So those companies such as Amazon, Walmart, uh, Unilever, they are companies that do adapt and want to fully continue with these shifts and changes that are happening, especially now after the pandemic, after the COVID-19 that occurred in 2019. And as they continue to really improve the way the system works and their companies operate, um, the customers do notice that as well, and they continue to go with companies that are looking out for the way that everything is changing, the culture, economically, health wise, any crises that will and could we could happen that we might encounter, we would want to depend on those companies that we feel are adapting and being resilient to any of these shocks that might appear that could affect us overall, and just have those companies to really commit to those changes and improving overall to really improve the customer satisfaction at 100%.
Good afternoon, my name is Regina. Let's start by understanding the challenges that emerged in the wake of the COVID 19 pandemic and the impact on the global supply chain. COVID 19 originated in Wuhan, China in December of 2019, quickly escalating into a global pandemic. Disrupting supply chains worldwide, this unprecedented disruption led to significant shifts in consumer behavior, challenging businesses to accurately forecast demand and manage inventory effectively. Furthermore, lockdowns, travel restrictions, and quarantine measures disrupted logistic networks, causing delays in transportation and distribution. Vulnerabilities in supply chains were exposed, resulting in shortages of essential goods such as medical supplies and food. Moreover, fluctuations in workforce availability due to illness, quarantine measures, and social distancing requirements further complicated production and fulfillment operations. Yet Obb's insights remind us that addressing these challenges requires a multifaceted approach, emphasizing the complexity inherent on navigating supply chain disruptions. Now that we understand the challenges, let's explore strategies for navigating them effectively. Firstly, building resilience through diversification is key. Diversifying supply sources and distribution channels can mitigate risks associated with disruptions and enhance supply chain resilience. Embracing technology and automation is another crucial strategy. Leveraging technologies such as AI, Internet of Things, and blockchain can optimize operations, improve visibility, and enable predictive analytics for better decision making. Additionally, strengthening partnerships and collaboration with suppliers, distributors, and other stakeholders can enhance communication, agility, and responsiveness in supply chain operations. Finally, prioritizing sustainability and ethical sourcing not only reduces environmental impact, but also enhances brand reputation and resilience in the long run. As we conclude, it's clear that adaptation and innovation are imperative for businesses to thrive post-COVID supply chain landscape. Continuous monitoring of supply chain dynamics and the ability to adapt quickly to changes are essential for resilience and competitiveness. Despite the challenges, the post-COVID era presents opportunities for businesses to innovate, transform, and emerge stronger. By implementing strategic measures and leveraging new technologies, businesses can navigate the complexities of the post-pandemic world and build resilient supply chains for the future.
So, some of the interested parties and stakeholders that are affiliated with the supply chain management issues post COVID 19 are business corporations, government, suppliers and vendors, and consumers. So, firstly, one of the most affected groups of individuals would be businesses and corporations. This is because their day-to-day operations are greatly affected because many of us had to stay home and they weren't getting as much business. So they had to make sure that they were enforcing resilience and all that kind of stuff. So, and then they also were affected with the fact that consumers weren't coming in as often, so they had consumer retainment issues, right? So not as many people came in, therefore it was a direct result of the COVID-19 supply chain management issues, right? Because at that time we were having issues with, having things in stock. People had to go to different places or weren't going out at all. Next was going to be the government. So for the government, their main responsibility was going to be to, resolve the economy. And by saying that, they had to make sure, that they balanced out the economy, took us out of that small recession, in order for us to continue to purchase goods and items, and that will directly influence the supply chain management issues that we were experiencing. Another way that they helped solve this issue was going to be by giving out stimulus checks so that we are able to afford the things that we may not have been able to get because of the fact that many people were laid off. Next is going to be suppliers and vendors. So they were mainly affected in the sense that they struggled to keep accounts. So as suppliers and as vendors, right, the supply chain management issue mainly, had to do with them because they were losing accounts because people weren't making as much money. So businesses were closing down. They didn't have as many consumers. Like I said, consumer retainment in businesses and operations. And they reduced their purchases, right? So maybe they didn't necessarily close down, but they did greatly reduce the volume in which they were purchasing at. And that would be from the vendors to the suppliers, right? So suppliers weren't selling as much and vendors weren't consuming as much or buying as much, right? And that's again, so we go to consumers. So consumers weren't purchasing as much for a number of reasons, right? So firstly, it was going to be shortages. Examples of this would be, toilet paper, face masks, medicines, all that kind of stuff. And this is because they lacked financial stability, right? We all went through a difficult time. The economy wasn't well. So because economy wasn't well, they weren't purchasing items that weren't considered necessary, right? But the items that were considered necessary to them, like the face masks and all that kind of stuff, were they weren't difficult to obtain, right? So that's how they were affected post COVID. Many of these and many establishments still required masks, right? We still had difficult times just getting toilet paper. A lot of shortages in items, despite because of COVID, right? Even after COVID. So because consumers weren't purchasing as much, businesses and operations were struggling to, retain consumers, struggling to meet day-to-day goals. Therefore, suppliers and vendors were struggling to keep accounts. They were, reducing their purchases or not selling as much. Therefore, the economy went down, and government had to resolve the economy and the stimulus checks. And this is all post-COVID supply chain management issues.